Welcome, everybody. I wanted to go through this because if you're like me and you took a hiatus from FC25, or maybe you took a hiatus before FC25 even came, so you didn't purchase it, right? I want to tell you, post patch, I can give you my word. It is the best FC game for sure in about a decade, maybe ever. And I mean that, maybe ever. And it is 100% one of the best football games ever released, okay? EA Sports definitely saw the writing on the wall. I'm sure they lost a ton of players. Their game was absolute garbage, which is what led me to leave. I ended up going to UFL, still playing UFL on the side, but the truth is nothing can match this new patch with FC. It is just too good. There's nothing OP, no glitchy mechanics that take away from the football that you have to use to have success. The spacing is no longer broken with AI defense to make it just garbage and take away from the skill it takes to play defense, as well as takes away from the ability to freely attack and use different formations, different skill sets, because previously you had to use that one or two ways you could find success out of those one or two formations with those few different play styles that worked, whether it was finesse shot plus, Travella plus, the first time power shot from 50 yards, so you had to have a player like, let's say, a Bobby Charlton to bang him in there. No way. Now it is as open as ever. You can actually find a formation and tactics set up to match your play style, the way you like to play, the way you find the most success on the field, and it can and will work if you do it with skill. Defending, you have to have skill to defend. Now, they did a tune-up after the patch to help bring those crazy score lines down because it was just a goal fest, right? Of course it's going to be after you give such high defensive AI assistance and bring it all the way down, right? Previously, what broke the defense in particular in FC was the fact that you were actually rewarded for not using the defender that would shut down the attack and win the ball. You would choose a player that was either totally out of the play or at least maybe just blocking a passing lane or something. Then you would hold on the AI assist and let the AI win the ball back for you. It was nonsense. There was no skill in it. That's all gone. What that also means is the power curve is as irrelevant as ever, meaning you don't just need these certain top of the line players that then do these certain OP mechanics or whatever that you need the best to be able to win or stay in games, okay? Yes, if you're neck and neck with someone skill wise, but they have a team full, let's say, team of the years, and you have, for instance, like this team I'm about to show you, just a lower team behind the curve, yeah, maybe they'll beat you in that game. But for the most part, even if you're out teamed, you can do well. And I want to go over that today with you. Okay, but before I get into that, I'm sure a vast majority of you know this. If not, you need to have a Footbin or some app like it. There's a few other ones. In my opinion, Footbin is the best. I've tried out most of the other similar apps. You have to have at least something like Footbin. My preference is Footbin to be able to find these different players. I'm going to use my team as an example and go from there. So if I go into my squads, much of this team you see here was left over from when I took a break, okay, from playing FC. Much of these players, and as you can see, some of you may have some of these players because they were free players that you got from grinding the game, like a Grealish or an Adama Traore, were part of the season passes you grinded. You eventually got them. Okay, I believe Robertson was too, but I could be wrong. Martinez definitely was. Okay, other players like Caicedo was from an SBC. Zidane, EA Sports gave everybody a Zidane. Now, the truth is, I'm not the biggest Zidane fan. I know he's an extremely popular player. He is very good, but different players, different FC players, I should say, just like and dislike different players based on, their body types, how they feel on the ball and stuff. And Zidane's just never been my cup of tea for that area. However, we got him for free. They gave us a free, pretty awesome evolution to use. So I'm using him. Many of you may actually like using Zidane. So that's a free player you get there. If you don't have him, though, my point is even if you got the game, let's say right now, okay, For one, there's still, like 8 months left in this game cycle. It would absolutely be worth it. For two, if you don't want to take my word for it, I believe if you go to EA Play, there's a free trial. So if you decide it's worth it to spend a few bucks to see if I'm telling the truth or see if the game is as good as I say it is or that you'll like it, um, you got to decide if it's worth a few bucks, and you can at least get a trial before you buy the game, right? So if you are worried about either A, being behind the power curve, or B, buying the game from scratch and not being able to catch up and build a team, don't worry about that. Here's why from scratch. Because you are going to be starting in Division 10. Not only that, but EA does a pretty good job of kind of helping boost the players that buy the game a little bit later, just so they can match the power curve. And there's enough cheap beast, right? As much as I don't like it, how many promos and stuff there are, because I feel like it takes away, how special it is to use certain players or to pack certain players, right? The one positive about having so many promos is it makes for cheaper players that are still top level players, right? When you have all those promos and people are going for those top echelon players from each promo, that's just going to be more and more like middle of the line players, or even near the top of the line players that just aren't expensive because there's so many other options. That makes it easier for you to go find cheap options to put into your team. Okay? So that's the plus on that. There's absolutely cheap beasts you can get, but let's say you're starting from scratch, you get the game, you have your starter team, you start in Division 10. You're going to be playing other players who decided to be just like you, and believe me, there's a lot of them that decide to get the game now when it's finally good, right? So you'll be equally matched there. Even if you're a little bit out teamed in those lower divisions, typically speaking, right? If you have some skill, you're going to be able to work your way up and win, okay? And as you're winning, you're getting points. As you're getting your points, you're getting the ability to go out and purchase better players and get more fodder to do certain SBCs. You don't have to do the most expensive ones. I'll show you an example. One SBC that I did to help buff my team, I actually had Vincent Kompany's 88 card, which was a beast pre-patch. Post-patch, not so much. He's just too stiff. His speed can't really do it. Right now, I strongly recommend in the center back position, you go with the most agile center backs you can get that also, if possible, have Anticipate Plus. That's where the Stones comes in, okay? There's two different versions, so I'm going to click here and show you. There is a center back, or, what I say was more prone to the center back. You can play center back and CDM with both cards, but this Anticipate Plus, that's the one I have. That is also the card that is potentially meant to be a center back. Then you have this other card that's a little quicker, right, but has the Bruiser Plus. And this card, I believe, was intended more to be the CDM, just based on the other play styles and things like that. This, with the 86 speed, 89 defense, 83 physical, okay, is a fantastic card in this new playstyle because of this right here. In dribbling, you see the agility and balance, 81-80. Brilliant for a center back, on top of Anticipate Plus, which it has always been an OP playstyle for center backs, but now more than ever. And Milito is much of the same, just like Stones. Now, Stones, very cheap SBC. Milito, very cheap on the market, okay? You have to do a little bit of work to get each of them, but you can have them in no time. And both of them with that great agility and balance, both of them with great passing for center backs, and the Anticipate Plus, which, why it's so important right now, not only the agility and balance to stay with those quick in and out movements and close down that space that's now available that you now have to cover individually defensively, right? But you also have the Anticipate Plus, which creates that little bit of automation in your tackles. Now, because they anticipate, they'll be able to close that last little bit of a gap to shut down an attacker when they're coming in on you. So try these two out, and if not, there's players similar. So let's go over that real quick. You simply would click on the player, right? Say Milito's not quite your guy, or you want to see if there's a little bit of a cheaper option. All right, you go here. You would go right underneath the player card into the similar, and voila, there you go. Parejo's center back card, okay, from the Winter Wild Card 2. Mitrovic has one with the 85 pace, 86 defense, 90 physical. Then, of course, the 91 rated Coman. If you want to see price ranges, Parejos coming in at 23K. Okay? Playstyle Plus right there. He has the Jockey Plus. Mitrovic has the Aerial Plus. Then, of course, Coman right here. He actually has two, but his top playstyle plus is Bruiser. So you would simply go through each of your players on your team. You can do that, do similar. You can compare them to other players. There's just a lot there. That's why I said Footbin or whatever app similar that you prefer is a must-have because it's going to help you get the very best team possible, the most affordable, the most efficient for what you're trying to accomplish, right? With how you want your team to play on the field. Some of the things to look at. Obviously, you go into that same area, right? This area, whether it's stats, right? If you go over here in the info, body type, weak foot, skills, obviously play styles, everything here you can find for your individual player, and that is going to help you make sure that you find like what you like about that player. Maybe you already know, maybe you're trying to figure it out in those similar areas, right? You look at what each player has that makes them similar, and you can determine, okay, there's this cheaper option, but and it says they're similar, but what is the difference? Maybe one player doesn't have the play styles exactly that you're looking for. Maybe another player does, or maybe another player has better play styles and the other player happens to be cheaper. Okay? It just depends on how much work you want to put into making sure that you have the best team that is the most affordable. Because let's say you find a more affordable option than, let's say, Melito, who's pretty affordable. I would say McManaman, there's definitely cheaper options out there at the right back area. He's an incredible right back for me, but let's say I want to get a new left winger or CDM or whoever. Let's just say you want to get a new player, in whatever position, but you need to free up some coins. Maybe you need to free up some coins in a couple places. Maybe you have Mainu, who, let's say he's as cheap as you can get, by the way. An incredible player, especially for this. We'll get into why in that CDM spot. But let's say you want to sell Mainu and McManaman, and you want to go to a cheaper option. You can utilize the strategies I just said. Find similar players, but for cheaper, right? For both of these areas at right back in this right CDM spot. That frees up coins, and now maybe you can go get a new Cam because you just don't like Zidane, which the truth is, he's not my favorite. But bottom line is, you have to look around and you can absolutely free up some coins doing that, okay? As you go, maybe you earn some coins and you're not quite there to get this top striker that you've been having in mind. Maybe you want to go away from the bigger, stronger strikers and go with the more agile, nimble strikers for this new post-patch era. And you finally have the coins, but you're not quite there, so you can sell one of these other players in another area to get a cheaper option and then free up some coins. None of this stuff is new necessarily, but I know for many people it can be overwhelming when you step away from the game and then need to come back and try to still compete, or when you're starting brand new from scratch in the middle of a game cycle, okay? Remember, it's a hard reset every year, so it's not like when you go get the game, this team that you're starting now is going to be your forever team. Many people don't like that. Many people, for that reason, like in eFootball or even the UFL, went that route. And I understand that, but there also is a skill in rebuilding a team every year and kind of starting from scratch and getting that new, fresh take on your team that you're going to have for the next year. Take them out. Make them the best that you can make them, your team-wise. Finding the best players that can fit, okay? Like, I no doubt hate all the promos that come out, okay? But from another perspective, I do like the fact that in that way you can create a very unique team that's still very skilled because, while many players are looking at that pinnacle of each promo to get those players, there are some excellent players that are just below that pinnacle of players that are way underpriced just because everyone's looking at, for instance, the icon cards that were released in a promo, and the main top name players that were released in a promo, and then that sneaks by like a Mainu, who's an incredible CDM. Doesn't necessarily have the best face stats to show it, but as we all know, those face stats don't necessarily mean everything. But he is an animal in this position. Now, Caicedo, he was a showdown card. If you don't have him already from before, you can't get him. But on top of that, I have him in an evolution right now. Check through your cards from before. If you took a hiatus, is mainly who I'm talking to here. Check through your cards from before, because there could be an excellent evolution that's now available to boost whatever card you have up to make him viable again with this meta. And on that note, Caicedo has been amazing. One of the key players in my team, just shutting down opponents constantly and being that first spark into creating the attack. And he's mid-evolution. He doesn't even have his full upgrades yet, and he's still amazing, even though this showdown was from a while back. Okay, many players just did Ugarte, who's excellent in this position too, and can even play center half, which I actually could see being a very viable position to use in this meta. Okay, right now, with this meta being open space, very fluid, quick moving attacks. Okay, so having that extra center back to plug in your back line and help them out could be useful. For me, though, as you've seen in my tactics video, I went 4-2-3-1 wide because I love the two CDMs solidifying the defensive area, and they absolutely do. They come in handy many times, breaking down attacks before it even gets to my back four. Not to mention, they're great catalysts for the attacking four. In the areas they play, they create these nice triangles with my attacking four. So you never get in an area where you can't constantly be pinging the ball around, which is important because on the defensive side, the pressure is going to be there. All right, if you're not moving the ball fast, if you're not quick thinking with where you want to move the ball, you will get stripped of the ball. So having these little triangles everywhere and more players out of those two CDMs, even though they're very defensively setting, you can manually push them forward, or they're both great at dribbling, both Caicedo and Mainu, which I strongly consider you look at for your CDMs. No different than the center backs. I have two center backs that have the Anticipate Plus that are very agile for center backs, right? And both have great passing for center backs. Same exact concept with Caicedo and Mainu. I want both of them. Now you have your, let's just use Declan Rice as an example. He's your most typical number 6 type of body type in player, right? Where he's very strong, good in the air, but still can move the ball around and all that. But I don't want those bigger, stiffer players right now, just because of the pressure and the ability to tackle back. That's one thing they need to nerf. Okay, or get it out. Yeah, just get it out of the game altogether. I'd say just remove it, because once you win a ball right now, you're liable to lose it right back to that attacker you lost the ball to. And many times it will put them in a better spot than they were before. So they essentially get rewarded for losing the ball, for getting stripped. They definitely need to remove that out of the game. But not only that, how much pressure there is right now. If you don't have a center, defense CDM in this role, in this formation, but in any formation, even, or maybe even it's a CM that is good at moving the ball, right? Not only passing, but dribbling out of pressure. Okay, then having good enough passing to distribute and kind of be that spark, like I said, in the attack. If you have more of a stiff center defensive mid or center mid, you're going to get the ball stripped more often. You just have to be ready for that. So all throughout the field, having those players that are able to make pretty quick transitions out of a tackle or an interception, and then have good enough passing to ping it from where they end up, that's going to serve you the best. So that's why I have Melito and Stones at center back, and Caicedo and Mainu. Mainu, by the way, is like 20-something thousand in the market. Anybody and everybody can get him if they want to. If you're just starting from scratch, you grind just a little bit, and you can absolutely go get him. Okay? Wing backs, the type of players I go for in the play styles. Now, both of these, Andrew Robertson, who I believe was an SBC, or you got him from grinding the game, like a free player from objectives or whatnot. I can't 100% remember, okay? But I can go do this, go here, the info. And he was a player moments card, which I believe you got from objectives. But either way, that's him. McManaman is $169,000 on the market. Again, there's cheaper options there, but both very good. Okay, McManaman in particular. All right, if you go over here to play styles, you see he's got the whip pass plus, the jockey, and the anticipate defensively. He's got first touch as well. He's excellent on the ball, right? He's excellent at defense. This is one of those winter wildcard matchups. I know some players are fans of these, some aren't. Okay, like for instance, arguably the best center back in the game right now, probably Erling Haaland, his winter wildcard where they mix up the positions. So some people think it's cool, some people think, it's nonsense. Either way, McManaman's typically a camera winger, but he has an excellent wingback card. For a little under 200K, there are cheaper options though, so depending where you're at, right? Andrew Robertson, another. I've always liked his card in any FC game. Going back to the FIFA, always liked his cards. Okay, now if you go here to the similar players on the market that are similar to Andrew Robertson, then it's just about mixing and matching, right? The right play styles and stuff, because no two players are going to be the same, obviously, but then it's about finding the most similar and the most affordable, what fits your budget. That's all you do, folks. You go through that. It doesn't have to be, you look at this team and see, well, I don't have a lot of those players you have. I can't get them. Game over. No. There's other comparable players, other players that are even better than this that you might have just sitting in your team from before. So for example, let me show you what I did in the attack. Both of my wingers, which are very important in this and any formation, Grealish on the left, Adama Traore on the right, are both players that I got for free from grinding the game, and they're in like the season passes or whatnot, right? And both are easily viable in this new meta. They easily can fit and dominate for you as well. They're not just they'll do for now. They're very good players, right? Are there better options? Of course there are, but they aren't going to compromise you in any way having them, especially if you have the skill, which is the most important part. Meaning, a non-skilled player or a less skilled player with a Vinny Jr. on the left, and a Salah, the top tier Salah on the right, is going to be worse off than a more skilled player with a Grealish on the left and a Adama Traore on the right. So both of these players were just players I had in my team, and they're absolutely viable. Maybe you don't have two players like this in your team yet, right? So either A, if you're starting from scratch and just getting the game, as you grind up, you buy a cheap beast and then you keep upgrading, right? Or B, if you've left off with, a team and you just happen to not have viable wingers, well, get to grinding squad battles, and then before long you will be able to get a cheap beast to add to whatever players you did have in your team that are viable. It's as simple as that. Again, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but striker, it comes down to make it black and white. Obviously, there's gray area there, but to make it black and white, you have your big, strong, physical striker like a Holland, okay? And then you have your more agile, nimble striker, which I use the example as a Robbie Keane, okay? So you can go in and based on your play style or what you want, you either find, again, a striker that's in your team, or if not, you grind up to get a cheap beast, and then you get the next level, and then the next level, and you keep increasing. It's that simple. In the cam position, I actually like to have more of, because obviously I play that position as a second striker more than an actual cam, where I believe Zidane would be better. Now, he does have the Shadow Striker Plus. He does do a good job, right? He does make good runs, but just his feeling on the ball is what I don't like. His attacking AI and his shooting, his finishing level and all that, it's fantastic. Obviously, he's one of the top players, that's sought after players in this game. Me personally, it comes down to personal preference. I just don't like him. That's where you have to really step up to. Don't just follow the crowd. Don't just get players because they're popular or other players like them. You have to find players that fit what feels good for you and in the play style that you like. I'll give you an example. I did an SBC Lindsey Oran, and she is incredible there. That's who I'd actually prefer. However, she doesn't quite fit with chemistry and stuff like that. But if I were to pick that shadow striker position, it would be more of a player with that kind of body type or that kind of, play style, which is just super quick on the ball, right? Great passing, great finishing, and all that, but just more agile, more nimble. I really like that from that position. But considering Zidane's free and they gave us that big Evo, that's why I kept him in there. And that's really all it comes down to. That's the summary. How I got to this point where I can kind of analyze the players that I want, analyze the gameplay from whatever patch has come, and then choose the players, choose the formation and stuff that works best, and go from there without having to look up anymore the meta tactics or the meta players in each position, or watch player reviews and listen to what certain content creators say. Are they good or not? Is SBC worth it or not? The way I got here is by following those content creators that I trusted to give good information, and then I just learned from them, seeing the players they were picking, seeing the players that they were passing on, listen to the way that they kind of analyze different players and different tactics as well, and formations, and their explanation of why they use different settings. There are very many, there's a lot of content creators out there that just kind of give you just the bare minimum, just like, here's the code for this formation, or even before the code, they just read off the different like player roles, tactic stuff, and then said, this is a very good attacking formation. Let's get into some examples from the game. And then they showed, like, look at this amazing goal. Look at these passes are great. And it's like, that's good, but then you have to explain, like, why. Like 4-2-3-1 wide, I'll give you an example. All the triangles all over the field work perfectly because this meta in summary is very prone to like ticky-tack. It's very similar. You're pinging the ball around from the back all the way up the field, sometimes having to recycle, especially after the tune-up where the defense is a little tighter, and having all these little passing options, and then even options further upfield, so you can get sort of a short pass, draw the defender in, long pass, right? Now, I would prefer this to be the 4-2-1-3, which the only difference between that and the 4-2-3-1 wide is that those left and right mids and the 4-2-1-3 are left and right wingers, so their natural starting position is closer to that striker, kind of in the seams between the center backs and the wing backs, which is my favorite place for my wingers to attack, okay? So in the 4-2-3-1 wide, just based on my personnel, they just start out a little wider than I would typically like. But again, still viable, still plays in much the same way that a 4-2-1-3 would. And you can absolutely get by with this. Eventually, though, I will be switching up my wingers. But right now, it's got to be worth it. Right now, Adama is so OP. You just have to ignore his face stats, and he's excellent. Grealish, too, is just so good on the ball, good finishing. And then Holland's a beast up top. Who knows which will switch first? You never know what kind of SBC will come. You never know who you might pack, right? You never know what kind of like cheap beast might become available where you go, man, I'm going to switch. I definitely can afford that, or that's worth it, or that's a steal. So it's just kind of playing it by ear, just being on top of the different players coming out, being on top of how your team's performing, right? Looking to see where some players might fall behind, and making sure you jump on it and upgrade your team before you suffer from it, right? And maybe that player costs you, or those few players cost you. So my goal is to just teach you and get you there so you know what to look for, and then know how to come up with a solution to get the best players on the field for you. And not only that, but find the best formation, tactics, and setup to play at your very best based on your form, obviously, in your play style, how you like to play, but also kind of where you are. Maybe you get away with a more attacking formation in the lower divisions, but you got to get a little more defensive as you move up, because the attackers are becoming more prominent and scoring more goals on you. So you kind of have to switch up as you elevate, right? That's all it is you just roll with the punches and just get better at kind of analyzing these things and making the right decisions. So that's what I will continue to help with, to provide content on top of tactics. And obviously then I'll be showing my journey, my highlights and stuff like that too. But couldn't be more excited for this post-patch era. Finally, EA Sports gives us a great game. I'm so glad they did not wait for FC26 because I frankly wouldn't be here. I'd still be over at UFL just trying to help that game go in the right direction. But because EA Sports finally did what they should have done years ago, there's nobody touching this game right now as far as other football games go. And, I'm glad that I'm here to benefit from that. It's going to be a fun time. I'm excited. I cannot wait to work with you guys too. I don't care if it's one person or 100 or 1,000. This is like the coach in me, if you will, translating over into the football gaming world. So I can't wait. Already if kind of had some very successful tactics and different things, different tips and stuff over in UFL based on player response. And that means more to me than anything that I will achieve, playing and climbing as well. So can't wait. You guys, I hope you get something from this video and from the rest of my videos. Keep grinding, keep having fun, and until next time, peace.